Okay, guys, so sorry that last video was cut kind of short. So this is video number 2. We are doing the second example, and that is with a quadratic that has a leading coefficient, this time of 2. And you'll also notice that the 6x is not with the x squared on the left side. So we want to, first thing we want to do is make sure our x terms are on one side. So we're going to do that first and make that 2x squared minus 6x. So we're just subtracting that 6x from both sides equals negative 20. And that gives us both x terms on one side. Then we're going to divide out the leading coefficient. And when we divide out the leading coefficient, we have to divide that 2 right here out of everything on that side. So we're going to divide the 2. Both sides have to have the 2 divided out, which means that this 6 has to have a 2 divided out of it as well. So that will be x squared minus 3x equals negative 10. Okay, then what we have to do, once we have divided out the leading coefficient, we are back to where we were in the example above. We are going to do the b over 2 squared. Now, you're going to notice this gets really ugly because what we have here is a negative 3 over 2 squared. Now, that negative didn't matter all that much. I wouldn't have even had to put that there, but I do have to square this. This is 9/4 when I squared the top and the bottom. And I have to add that to both sides. And yes, we are going to end up with fractions. So this is x squared minus 3x plus 9/4 equals negative 10 plus 9/4. Okay, now don't let this whole mess with the fractions make you worried, because this really isn't that hard. It's just x plus the square, or actually minus. Let me go back and fix that. So this is x minus what is in here. Now, ignoring that negative right here, because we took care of that negative right here. We're going to use the 3/2, which is really just the square root of 9/4. So we have x minus 3/2 squared. We created a perfect square trinomial, just like we did in the example above. So we know that it's going to work if I FOIL it back out. The only thing I have left to do is simplify the right side, and I need a common denominator. So I have negative 40/4, if I make a common denominator here, plus 9/4, okay? And then I'll have the squared. Let me go ahead and simplify that. X minus 3/2 squared equals negative 31/4. Okay. And when I square root both sides, and I'm going to do that with a red pen just so you can see. What I'm going to have is x minus 3/2 equals, plus or minus, remember, the square root of negative 31/4. Now, we have a square root of a negative number. We haven't spent a lot of time working on negative square roots, but you do know that the square root of a -1 is I. And when we take the square root of the bottom of this, we can take the square root of the bottom and the square root of the top separately. 31 is a prime number. We're not going to be able to simplify that, but 4 is a perfect square. So we can simplify this just a little bit by saying x minus 3 over 2 equals plus or minus the square root of 31 I, because we can take the negative square root of the square root of negative 1 out of that radical over the square root of 4 is 2. Okay, x, then if I add this 3 halves to the other side, let me just move that down. Then what I will have is x equals 3 halves plus or minus the square root of 31I over 2. I can leave it this way, that's perfectly fine. Or I can write 3 plus or minus the square root of 31I over 2. When we get back into class, we're going to talk a little bit about where that I should go. We will go over the homework that you had from the day before where you were simplifying things with I. We'll go over all of that again together, but that is how you find something that has a complex solution. And I did want to go over one of those with you.